Today we're having a look at the Surfy Industries Surfybear Classic. I was in Germany for the Guitar Summit 2023, and I saw this thing on the table and I was like, what is that? And there was a bunch of them, different colors, different sizes. I talked with a gentleman there on the Friday, the very first day. He was super nice. He was saying how, in Europe, surf music didn't really catch on, but he was a big fan of it. His company is all about making these. Now, I know most people probably know them. I had heard the name Surfybear and Surfy Industries, but I had never had experience with any of what they do before. On the second day of Guitar Summit, I went to their table again, to their booth, and I tried one that looked just exactly like this. I tried it out and I was like, wow, okay, I have to get my hands on a real spring reverb and I have to showcase what it can do. So I have pedals that can do the whole reverb thing, and it does it fairly well, but this is on a completely other level, and it has nothing to do with the fact that it's old or vintage looking or anything. It's really the concept of the sound that it represents, the sound from the 1950s and 60s. And there's something about sending the output directly into the input of your guitar amp as opposed to having the reverb built into the amp. So if I'm not mistaken, when the reverb is built in, it's between the preamp section and the power amp section, where if you do it old school like this one, you send it directly to the preamp section, which really does have a huge effect on the reverb itself, which is very cool because now you can control with the tone, the mixer to get just the right balance going into the front of the amp, and then you have your dwell. Have to keep in mind that back in those days, if you were playing in a club and you had a small low wattage amp, like what I have here, a Vox AC15, they were amps of similar wattage back in those days, it would have probably driven them quite hard, and that changes how the reverb sounds. So the more gain you're having, the more you're clipping the reverb, the louder it gets in the mix. So something like the mixer is really well thought out because you can blend in more of the clean signal. Nowadays, it's not that much of an issue, especially with effects loop and all the stuff that we have for pedal boards. Why would you want to have something so big? Now, you can kind of see here at the bottom, this is my Vox AC15. And on each side of this pedal, there is about 2.5 inches left on both sides. So it's a substantially long unit, but the thing is, you have to keep in mind that there's a specific sound coming out of this design. And if you think this is bad, then you should try out the older one with the tubes. Those units are pretty big and they're still pretty heavy if you consider comparing that with this unit. And from what I can tell so far, the sound is very, very similar. I'm really enjoying this reverb, and what I'm doing in this video is I'm going to be going for some of the iconic reverbs that I enjoy personally, stuff that either my father and my mom were listening to, stuff that I discovered later on, or music that I can actually hear that it's a spring reverb and I like the song and I like the reverb in the song. So you get me, right? I'm going to be using this to try and achieve those kinds of tones. So let's get started.